The boardroom was silent, too silent. Marble floors gleamed under the soft light of the chandeliers, and at the far end of the table sat Mr. Hiroshi Takeda, a billionaire known across Asia for his powerful corporations and global influence. His suit was worth more than most people's annual salary, and his eyes carried the kind of sharpness that came from years of dominance in business. On the polished mahogany table lay a contract that would supposedly secure his next $500 million deal. Every executive leaned in, nervous and eager to please. Reporters waited outside, cameras ready to capture the triumphant signing of the century. But just as Takeda raised his pen, a small voice cut through the silence. "That's not what it says." The room froze. Heads turned toward the voice, confused. Standing at the corner, wearing a simple white blouse and skirt, was Aiko, the 17-year-old daughter of one of the housemaids. She wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't a CEO, an investor, or a lawyer. She was just invisible. Or at least, she had been, until now. The executives frowned. "What do you mean?" one of them demanded, dismissing her with a wave. Aiko's voice trembled, but her conviction grew stronger with every word. "The Japanese translation in this contract is wrong. It says the land rights will remain with the local community. But the English version says all rights transfer to Takeda Enterprises. That's fraud." Gasps filled the room. Even the boldest executives dared not accuse their billionaire boss of fraud. But here was a maid's daughter, calling him out. Takeda's face hardened. He leaned forward, his voice low and threatening. "Do you know what you're saying, girl?" Aiko nodded. She had always been quiet, always unnoticed, but this was her moment. Her late father had been cheated by men like Takeda, men who used their power to exploit those who couldn't fight back. Aiko's mother had scrubbed floors and washed dishes for years just to keep food on the table. But Aiko, she had a gift. She had learned languages from the discarded books she picked up in trash bins, and Japanese had become her strongest weapon. She could not stay silent anymore. The hidden struggle. Aiko's story didn't begin in that boardroom. It began years earlier, in a cramped one-room apartment at the edge of Tokyo. Her mother worked endlessly, sometimes 18 hours a day, while Aiko studied late into the night. They had been mocked. "A maid's daughter can never rise above her station," neighbors would sneer. At school, wealthier children laughed at her hand-me-down uniforms. Yet Aiko never fought back with anger, she fought with determination. Every insult, every rejection, every lonely night became fuel. She would prove that knowledge was more powerful than money. But survival was hard. There were days when her mother cried quietly, wondering if she could even keep paying the rent. Days when Aiko thought of giving up her studies to work in a factory. And always in the background, looming like a shadow, was Takeda Enterprises, buying up lands, seizing properties, exploiting the poor. She never imagined fate would place her directly in the path of the man himself. The billionaire's mask. To the world, Hiroshi Takeda was a hero, philanthropist, investor, savior of economies. But behind closed doors, he was ruthless. He bribed officials, destroyed villages, and silenced critics with threats. His latest deal, worth nearly $500 million, would displace thousands of families. The public never knew. The media never reported it. But the girl who cleaned his offices, who overheard his lawyers whispering late at night, who picked up the torn pieces of contracts thrown in the trash, she knew. Aiko pieced them together silently, waiting. The breaking point. When Aiko spoke out in the boardroom, everyone waited for Takeda's fury. And it came, like thunder. "You dare accuse me of lying," he snarled. "Do you know who I am? I could crush your family with a single phone call." But Aiko didn't flinch. Her voice rose, steady and clear. "The truth doesn't care about your money. The truth only needs someone brave enough to speak it." Some executives shifted uncomfortably. For years they had obeyed Takeda without question. But deep down, many of them had seen his corruption. They just lacked the courage to expose him. And now, a maid's daughter had done what none of them could. The fight for justice. Takeda tried everything, threats, bribes, even offering her a scholarship if she stayed silent. But Aiko refused. The news spread like wildfire. "Maid's daughter exposes billionaire's fraud," screamed headlines. Social media erupted with support. People from villages Takeda had ruined came forward with their own testimonies. Lawyers took up her cause, offering to protect her. It wasn't easy. Aiko and her mother faced harassment. Strangers followed them home. Anonymous letters warned them to stop. But instead of breaking, Aiko grew stronger. She studied harder, spoke louder, and stood taller. For the first time, the poor saw hope, that even one voice could shake the powerful. The fall of a giant. Months of investigations followed. Under pressure, governments revoked Takeda's licenses. Banks froze his accounts. Executives resigned one by one, unwilling to go down with him. Finally, in a courtroom packed with reporters, the truth came out. The forged contracts, the bribes, the stolen lands, exposed for the world to see. Takeda, once untouchable, now sat in chains. His empire crumbled, not because of billion-dollar lawyers, but because of a girl who had nothing but courage. The message. When the dust settled, reporters asked Aiko how she had found the strength. She simply smiled and said, "My mother always told me, be kind always. But kindness doesn't mean silence. Sometimes, kindness is standing up for what's right, even when your voice shakes." Her words traveled across the world, inspiring millions. Schools invited her to speak. Families told their children her story. And for once, the name that echoed louder than money or power was not Takeda, it was Aiko, the maid's daughter who spoke truth to a billionaire. Closing for video. And that, dear friends, is the story of courage, the story of how one young girl with nothing to her name brought down a $500 million scam with nothing but her voice. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Aiko's place? Would you have stayed silent, or would you have spoken up? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be kind always, where we bring you powerful stories of hope, resilience, and truth. Remember, even the smallest voice can echo across the world.